Darren should have known something was wrong the moment the guide handed him a robe that shimmered like liquid starlight and said, "Put this on and don't point at anything unless you truly mean it." In hindsight, that was an important instruction. In the moment, however, Darren was mostly concerned with how itchy the fabric was and whether the glowing patterns on it were supposed to move. They were. They absolutely were. He followed the procession into a vast ceremonial hall, its ceiling arcing so high he wondered if the architects had gotten into a contest of who can build something unnecessarily dramatic. Hundreds of long-eared aliens sat in elegant rows, each wearing elaborate garments that made him feel like a stray tourist who'd wandered into a royal photo shoot. The air hummed faintly with some sort of energy field that smelled like citrus and metal. The cultural liaison, a tall alien who had been politely judging him since the moment they met, whispered, "This is a partnership ceremony. When your turn comes, you will make a gesture of goodwill. A selection. Symbolic, of course." "Symbolic," Darren repeated. "Yes, usually." "Usually?" he asked, suddenly nervous. The liaison did not elaborate, which Darren took as a very bad sign. He tried to focus on anything except the dozens of eyes staring at him. His palms were sweaty, his robe was dazzling in a way that felt aggressively bright, and the ceremonial music consisting of vibrating chimes made his teeth itch. When his name was announced, mispronounced beautifully, as if they'd added 3 extra vowels, he stepped forward onto the central platform. All he needed to do was make a small gesture, something respectful, something symbolic, something not stupid. The silence weighed heavily. Darren felt every gaze pressing on him. A bead of sweat slipped down his temple. His heart thudded. His brain emptied itself entirely of rational thought, replacing everything with one singular instinctual scream. "Do anything or they'll think you're rude." So he pointed, randomly, at the first person his panicking eyes landed on. The hall froze. Even the glowing patterns on Darren's robe paused, which he didn't know they could do. The liaison behind him made a sound like someone choking on a small moon, because the person Darren had pointed at was standing among the royal delegation. She was tall, poised, and strikingly elegant, her long silver ears framing her face like twin blades softened by starlight. Her pale eyes glimmered with shock, curiosity, and what might have been amusement. She wore a gown woven from luminescent threads that gave her an ethereal glow, like she'd stepped out of a myth or a very high-budget dream. When she stepped forward, the entire hall bowed. Darren thought about joining them, but his knees were locked in place, choosing this moment to rebel against gravity and social expectations. She approached him calmly, her gaze steady, her expression unreadable. Close enough, he could see faint iridescent markings along her temples, delicate traces that shimmered like constellations shifting under her skin. The long ears were even more striking up close, moving with subtle expressions he didn't yet understand. "You have chosen," she said softly, her voice melodic with an accent that made his name sound like a better version of itself. "Chosen?" he squeaked. She tilted her head. "Do humans typically select partners at random?" "Yes, no, sometimes. I mean, no, I'm sorry, I didn't mean, this was not, I was panicking." A ripple of laughter moved through the audience, delicate and musical, as if they'd been waiting their whole lives to witness this exact spectacle. The princess, because she had to be royalty, he now realized with mounting dread, smiled in a way that made the room somehow brighter. "Your gesture has been witnessed, I accept." Darren felt his soul leave his body, probably to go fill out paperwork about this mistake. Accept what?" The liaison stepped up beside him, whispering with the urgency of someone trying to stop a spaceship from hitting a moon. "You just participated in an ancient Union selection ritual. You pointed at the Princess Alira. She accepted. Congratulations and condolences." Darren stared at the princess. She stared back, serene and lovely, and absolutely unaware of the screaming chaos in his brain. Alira extended her hand. "Come, there is much to discuss. Our families will expect us to prepare for the formal rites." "Formal rites?" he whispered, as in wedding rites. "Yes," she said. "Unless humans do things differently, you may explain your customs later." Darren swallowed hard. "Right, sure, customs, yes, I definitely have those." The hall erupted in applause. The ceremony resumed. And Darren, pulled gently but firmly by the princess, realized that his life had just been catapulted into a direction he had not signed up for, planned for, or even vaguely imagined. He also realized something else. He had just randomly pointed at an alien princess. And now he was engaged, terrifying, unbelievable, and deep down under the panic, strangely exhilarating. The royal shuttle hummed beneath us as it carried me away from the ceremony grounds, the same way a conveyor belt carries a very confused piece of luggage that somehow ended up in the wrong airport. I sat beside Princess Lyris, my accidental bride, trying not to stare at her long, elegant ears that twitched every time she wasn't looking at me. I wasn't sure if they moved because of emotion, ambient noise, or some unknown alien instinct to detect incoming stupidity from humans. If so, they must have been ringing nonstop in my presence. She hadn't spoken much since the moment she'd accepted my random, panicked point of destiny, which was apparently the official name of the gesture I'd made while trying to sneeze. Instead, she studied me with sparkling violet eyes that made me feel both inspected and mildly grilled, like she was trying to determine whether I was fit for royal service or better, suited for compost. I tried smiling back at her. Her ears stiffened. Probably not a good sign. The shuttle burst through the atmosphere with a soft fluctuation of gravity that pressed me into the seat. The window to my left revealed Orionis Prime from above, a sprawling city of floating platforms, spiraling crystalline towers, and river-like streams of neon light. Orbiting the city were the planetary rings, thin arcs that shimmered with energy fields, like they were decorated for an intergalactic holiday. Everything looked majestic, futuristic, and also very expensive. I wondered if pointing at the air counted as a financial commitment. Lyris finally turned to me, shifting, her ceremonial gown shimmering like shifting stardust. "You are very calm for someone whose life has just been bound to the Orionian crown," she said, her tone smooth, but with a faint hint of amusement. "Most humans faint when they learn the consequences." I considered it, I admitted, but I didn't want to fall face first into all those dignitaries. Bad first impression and all. Her long ears relaxed slightly, which I chose to interpret as her version of a laugh. Before I could say more, a spherical protocol drone zipped into view, hovering eye level with me. It projected a shimmering display full of symbols I couldn't read, but which looked suspiciously like a contract. "Greetings, human consort designate," it chirped. "Please confirm that you intentionally chose Princess Lyris of House Vierlin. Failure to confirm will result in catastrophic diplomatic complications." Lyris's ears shot upward. My stomach dropped. The drone stared at me with the intensity of a floating bureaucratic wasp. "Intentionally?" I squeaked. The drone zoomed closer. "Intentional choice required. Please state." I selected Princess Lyris of my own volition. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out but a dry wheeze. Lyris leaned in, her voice low. "If you do not confirm, the council will assume you rejected me publicly. That is an insult punishable by prolonged negotiation sessions." A shiver ran down my spine. "Negotiation sessions? How prolonged?" "Some last weeks," she whispered gravely. "I selected Princess Lyris of my own volition," I blurted at lightspeed. The drone beeped cheerfully. "Confirmed," Bond acknowledged. "You may now begin preliminary partner orientation. Warning: sudden attempts to flee will result in minor limb paralysis." I decided not to ask for more details. When the drone drifted away, Lyris regarded me again, her expression softer than before. "You handled that better than expected. Most would have panicked." "Oh, I'm panicking," I assured her. "I'm just doing it internally, quietly. Like a gentleman." Her lips curved in a small smile. "For what it is worth, human, you are not uninteresting." "Thanks," I said. "My ex once said I had the charisma of a malfunctioning toaster, so I'll take the upgrade." Her ears twitched, a vibration so quick it reminded me of a startled cat discovering a cucumber on the floor. "A toaster." "Long story. I would like to hear it." I blinked. "Really?" "Yes. If we are to be bound partners, it is customary for us to know each other's histories." She paused, hesitating for the first time. "And I would prefer this arrangement not be unpleasant for either of us." Despite my fear, the sincerity in her tone nudged something warm in my chest. Maybe this wasn't the absolute worst interplanetary accident ever. The shuttle descended toward the royal citadel, its massive structure reflecting starlight like a polished shard of a moon. As we approached, the platform extended, surrounded by hovering guards in obsidian armor, each carrying plasma spears that hummed with energy. I gulped. Lyris noticed. "Do not worry," she said. "They are only here to ensure your safe arrival." "Right," I muttered, because nothing says safety like weaponized forks of death. To my astonishment, she laughed, a soft, melodic sound that rippled through the air. "You are strange, human, but perhaps in a way I do not mind." The shuttle doors opened, and the cool air of the citadel swept in, tinged with the scent of metal, ozone, and flowers that glowed faintly blue. Lyris stepped out first, regal and composed. I followed, trying to look like someone who absolutely meant to choose a royal alien woman with long, graceful ears and accidentally alter the course of two civilizations. If this was my new life, I had a feeling things were only going to get stranger from here. The Citadel's great hall shimmered with floating lanterns, tiny spheres of light that drifted like lazy fireflies, humming softly as though warming up to judge me for existing. As I walked beside Lyris toward the center dais, I tried not to think about the fact that orbiting above us was the council chamber, where a group of very powerful, very humorless aliens were currently debating whether I was fit to marry their princess or should be launched gently, but firmly, into space. Lyris sensed my nerves. Her long ears flicked toward me, brushing my shoulder in an almost comforting way. "Do not worry," she murmured. "My mother likes you." "Because I'm harmless," I whispered. "Because you are sincere," she corrected, though her smirk suggested the first answer wasn't entirely wrong. We reached the dais where the queen stood in her crystalline regalia, a dozen counselors arranged behind her like a wall of judgmental garden sculptures. The queen raised a graceful hand, and the hall quieted. "Human Matthew," she said, her voice echoing through the chamber, "you were chosen by fate or by accident, accounts vary, to stand beside my daughter. Today, the council has deliberated on your worthiness." A counselor stepped forward. His long ears were so rigid with disapproval they could have doubled as antennae. "We find the human, untrained, uncultured, unprepared, unqualified." "Okay," I muttered. "We get it. And yet," he continued dramatically, "we also find him unexpectedly adaptable and oddly difficult to intimidate. We suspect this is due to his innate human obliviousness." "That is not untrue," I admitted. The queen smiled, though it was hard to tell if it was at me or at the counselor's pained expression. "Nevertheless, the final choice lies not with us, but with my daughter." Lyris stepped beside me, her expression unreadable. For a fleeting, terrifying moment, I wondered if she would politely inform everyone that she'd prefer to marry someone who hadn't selected her with a sneeze. Instead, she gently took my hand. "Mother, counsel, I choose him." Fully, intentionally, and without hesitation. The hall buzzed. Several counselors nearly fainted. One actually did and had to be caught by a hovering medical drone. I blinked at her. "You sure? There's still time to change your—" "Do not finish that sentence," she warned softly. The queen nodded, raising both hands. A glowing circular sigil formed beneath our feet, swirling with brilliant violet energy. "Then let the bond be sealed." The sigil rose like a column of light around us. Warmth flowed through my body, and for a ridiculous second, I wondered if I was about to explode. Instead, a soft pulse radiated outward, casting a ripple of energy that filled the hall. Lyris's fingers tightened around mine, grounding me. When the light faded, the hall erupted into applause. A nearby drone played triumphant fanfare that sounded suspiciously like an off-key trumpet. Lyris exhaled slowly. "It is done." A weight I hadn't realized I'd been carrying lifted. "So, does this mean I'm officially a royal consort? With duties and responsibilities, and a uniform? Please tell me there's a uniform." "There is," she said with a small grin. "It has capes." "I knew it," I whispered reverently. The queen approached, her presence both regal and warm. "Matthew, you have shown courage, humor, and an admirable willingness to survive our bureaucracy. These qualities will serve you well." "It was mostly panic," I admitted. "That is also a valuable skill." The ceremony shifted into celebration. Alien musicians played instruments that looked like glowing noodles but somehow produced orchestral magic. Holographic displays danced through the air. Counselors who had previously looked like they might vaporize me now approached to offer congratulations, though one did politely ask if humans were usually this sweaty. Lyris and I slipped away to a quieter balcony overlooking Orionis Prime. The planetary rings glowed brightly, casting a soft halo over the city. A gentle breeze lifted the edges of her gown. "You did well today," she said. "So did you," I replied. Accepting a guy who accidentally pointed at you must rank pretty high on the list of bizarre royal decisions. Her ears fluttered in amusement. "It is not as strange as you think. Our traditions allow for destiny to appear in unexpected forms." I leaned against the railing. "So what now? I learn how to be a consort, attend events, try not to offend anyone with long ears." "You will learn," she said, "but not alone." Something warm settled between us as she looked at me, not with the stunned curiosity from our first meeting, nor the cautious analysis from the council shuttle, but with quiet trust. "I am glad you pointed at me," she said